2021, another Saturday. Welcome to Inside Pages. I'm Francisca Kakra-Forson. This program is streaming live on social media. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as YouTube. Just go to Metro TV Ghana and join us. And use the hashtag Inside Pages to send your comments. There'll also be a number that will be displaying on the screen. Please do not call the number. Just send your message and we'll read them on the show. I'll go straight to our conversation for today. And today we'll be looking at the security situation in Ghana. We'll be talking to a number of security experts. We'll have a conversation about what many believe is rising tension. We'll talk about the security personnel, the police and military, how they've been managing crowds, and we'll look at cases of brutality. We'll also talk about COVID-19 in Ghana, as Ghana records its first community infection of COVID-19 Delta variant. This show is brought to you by Appointed Time Printing Limited. We are grateful to them for always standing by us. We'll take a break and the show continues when we come back.
In Ghana and in Africa, there is only one place to look to get that luxurious design and decor for your offices and homes. Visit Jamila Home. We give you the climax of luxury wherever you find yourself. Presidential and executive office furniture, living room set, dining set, stunning mirrors, adorable wallpapers, lovely king and queen size beds, valuable antiques and antique goods, beautiful chandeliers and more. Into the bargain, we provide caring customer service, prompt delivery service, skilled and artistic full house design and decor services, and free decor ideas for your space. Our products and service is unparalleled, boasting of top-tier clients all over the globe. Jamila Home, home of first-class quality furniture, beautiful chandeliers, and antiques.
Did you know that cloth handkerchief gets dirty and wet after wiping your sweat or blowing your nose with it? Keeping a dirty handkerchief in your pocket or bag is very unhygienic. Reusing it increases your chances of getting sick from germs. That is why I always use Flora disposable handkerchiefs. Flora disposable handkerchiefs is disposable, thus making it a more hygienic option. It's thick and very absorbent. With 10 tissues in a pack, Flora disposable handkerchief is better than a cloth handkerchief. The Flora toilet roll, Flora multi-purpose paper towels, Flora table napkins, and Flora box tissues in a shop near you. For both purchases, call Delta Paper Mail on 0243 033 033.
The search for a reliable partner in dealing with your U-turn bus needs has been made easier and convenient with SA Automobile. SA Automobile, formerly U-turn Ghana Limited, has been in the business of offering quality U-turn products and services at competitive rates. At SA Automobile, our team of expert staff, management, engineers, and mechanics professionally deal in the sale of U-turn buses, genuine spare parts, its repairs and maintenance at our highly effective workshop with remarkable speed. We also have available the sale of Camel car batteries, Weichai and Kia spare parts, Zonton coaches and light-duty vehicles for everyday movement. Contact us on 020 000 0831 or 054 555 7500. You can also email us info@saautomobilegh.com or visit our website at www.saautomobilegh.com. SA Automobile, the pleasure of doing business with you is all ours.
Welcome back. Let's get straight to the Metro newsroom and get the latest news updates.
The challenges we are having mostly, or personally, is with the applicants. Like, they are proving very stubborn, I don't know, and also the nature of the questionnaire. So some of them will be like, oh, like, excuse me, say, it me, my bread, like, I'll be back. And seeing as they are just trying to run away, and even if they're not busy, they'll try and get themselves busy so that they'll try and avoid the plenty questions you're about to ask.
All these, according to the coordinator for the Independent International Monitoring Observers, can be attributed to the low publicity ahead of the 2021 population and housing census.
What they have observed, one of the things is that publicity is generally low, and that is accounting for some respondents not cooperating with field workers. The other issue is that some of the respondents are confusing the listing exercise, which ended on Friday last week, with the main enumeration, which started on the morning of Monday.
Niye Ojualakwe is the UNFPA country representative to Ghana.
What we have done is to put in place a process, a mechanism whereby we need to watch how the work is being done, if it is being done well. And that's why, well, we cannot be doing it ourselves. That's why we have gotten people, we put in place what we call an independent monitoring program. We have people from all over Africa who are here to monitor, to see if this process is going on well.
Dr. Collins Opio is the Chief Technical Advisor for the UNFPA. He explains how the technologies adopted by the Ghana Statistical Service will aid in the collection of data.
This census for Ghana 2021, we have used a lot of technology and new methodologies. That is a requirement of the United Nations Principles and Recommendations for 2020 round of censuses. These are censuses done between 2015 and 2024, that they should use technology to improve the results and timeliness of those results. So we have used a lot of new methodology. We are using the tablet to collect data. We are taking GPS coordinates of all these structures. We are also taking their physical addresses. We can describe each of these structures to you.
The monitoring exercise forms part of measures to ensure that the 2021 population and housing census provides accurate data for policy formulation and facilitating Ghana's development.
For the past 6 years, several attempts have been made to construct the only road linking Doyumu to other communities within the Shire Hills area, but to no avail. The road has rather deteriorated. The youth are threatening to block the roads if authorities do not call the contractor to order.
It's very bad. Since then, road near very bad. Still, we don't see any improvement.
Some taxi drivers also spoke to Metro News about their difficulties.
We want this road to be fixed immediately. You see, immediately. Otherwise, the necessary action will be taken against the government or the road contractor.
Madam Comfort Asrifi, a businesswoman, could not hide her frustration. Assemblyman for the Abiete area spoke to Metro News.
Let's come together as one people to let this our community to move on. Not it's about everything about fight. That will not help the community. Like the way Highways is saying, if we have challenge on the road, let's put on writing, send the letter to Highways. Even when they want me to lead or they'll give the letter to me, I'll waste my more money to buy a fuel, send a letter, and I'll bring them to come and spend what they are doing. If it's shoddy, they'll demolish it for we to get our peace in the community, because I know past about 20 years we don't have road in this community.
Samuel Asamoah reporting for Metro News.
Some Ghanaian legislators, together with the Christian Fellowship in Parliament, on Tuesday met to pray against the spirit of LGBTQI+ ahead of the introduction of a private member's bill to criminalize homosexuality and its related activities. The Member of Parliament for Ningo Prampram, Sam George, and 7 other colleagues who sponsored the bipartisan bill said the bill respects the fundamental human right of all persons, including those found engaging in the LGBTQI activities.
We've established clearly that homosexuality is not a human right. It is a lifestyle choice. And so we respect the human right of practitioners of homosexuality to get a free and fair trial. However, their sexual orientation and choices cannot be deemed to be a human right, and this is in consonance with the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. I can assure you that this bill will be a reference for countries and parliaments across the world. That is the work we have done.
The Speaker of Parliament, on his part, said the bill to stop the promotion of activities of LGBTQI+ in the country will be introduced in the House this week, and no amount of threat can stop Parliament from getting it approved.
And all those threatening the members of Parliament who are leading this bill, please be warned. We cannot be threatened in our homes. This must be stated loud and clear. They can never dictate to us as to how to live or not to live in this world. And I'm very clear in my mind that this House, the Parliament of Ghana, will pass this bill as soon as possible.
The private member's bill, which has been presented to the Speaker of Parliament by Sam George and his team, when passed into law, would criminalize the promotion, advocacy, funding, and act of homosexuality in the country.
The Asafo market is one of the busiest markets in the Kumasi metropolis. The heavy downpour in the metropolis last week flooded the entire market, leading to destruction of properties running into thousands of Ghana cedis. This, the traders alluded to the ongoing construction of new stores at the market, which they claim is being built on drains and has thus blocked the free flow of water through the market. The traders, in a desperate attempt to register their displeasure over the state of affairs, suspended market activities on Monday and closed all shops. The traders, clad in red, marched through the streets of Asafo before converging at the market to express their concerns.
The drainage system in the market is very, very poor. There was a fire outbreak here, and they brought in a contractor named Alhaji and Medina Constructions, and he came here to renovate the market, the place where there was a fire outbreak. But after the fire outbreak, he let us realize that he's going to fix the drainage system for the market, and as a result, he's going to charge a certain fee, which I can't recollect. But all said and done, he started the construction and he's done the part which was burned down. But after the construction of that site, he's not bothered to even fix that drainage system, which is causing havoc to us.
They also threatened not to pay market tolls until their concerns are addressed.
Contractor, penny farm war. I'm a cassa be one say, Muya Mobo, and one year the hair ma, and 1 year the hair bushia. Nasa dear Chine and toy and I'm a bit dressed with a ticket. Nasa, you know my ass is up to a we have had 1 ticket car.
The aggrieved traders after the protest also petitioned the chief of Asafo and mayor of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. Attempts to get the public relations officer of KMA, Henrietta Efia Kunedu Abuaje, to respond to the concerns of the traders proved futile.
The relocation exercise, which started at dawn on Thursday, saw all onion sellers in Agbegbulushi Market move their wares to the newly constructed Ajin Kutuku Market. The peaceful exercise took a different turn when scrap dealers in Agbegbulushi declined to move to the new Ajin Kutuku Market.
They are only demolition, but we won't go till we have a land that is sufficient enough for us to go. We will not leave this place, but they are only destroying structures, not human beings. You understand? They are destroying structures, not human beings. We will only remain here when we get a sufficient land that can accommodate scrap dealers.
Where are they relocating us to? We have an association, and it's under Ghana Scrap Dealers Association, Scrap Dealers Association. Which letter do they inform us? Where we say just yesterday we saw it at news.
After some minutes of several agitations, some scrap dealers speaking codedly mentioned a place they needed to visit. Metro News team decided to follow them. It was the old Fadama Party office of the New Patriotic Party. The irate youth ransacked the office and blocked the street with burning tires. The Joint Task Force comprising the Army, Police, Fire and Immigration Services intervened to restore calm. The youth, however, pelted stones and fired at the task force. The Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Quartey spoke to Metro News.
Where they want to be, that the place is small. No, he's here, ask her. They find it difficult even to go in there. They can't go in there. Talk less of bills. Ask him, that's the MCE. And this has been happening for over 15 years. I mean, today I am sad, and that's why I can't even put my grammar together. I'm sad because, you see, if this is happening in this country, why? Do you know the amount of money we are losing here? Aside that, they even create more tons of waste for us. It's not fair. And still people are talking about leaving scrap dealers here. Why? I'm saying that we have taken possession, and that's it, full stop. Simplicity. Nobody's going to come back here. We're done. My brother, I think you should go to Ajin Kutuku and come back and let's have this discussion. There's a 12-acre land aside where the Union Centers are. Opposite, there's a 12-acre land. How many acres are they occupying here? It's about 2 acres. So when they have a 12-acre land there, they cannot manage even 4 acres. They are looking like that. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. We are done. But I'm saying that there is no turning back. We have moved in, we have taken possession, we are going ground zero, nobody's going to come back.
Maria Makali Amui is the Ablikuma Central Municipal Chief Executive.
Just for them, there are many in each group, so that they use that for transportation to Ajin Kutuku. You see, that is all. So they look at the numbers in each group. So it is our prerogative to decide, oh, we prepare a data and we work with the data. You see, so if you said your money is not sufficient, so you are not going, is it fair?
The minister has also promised to put an end to trading along major streets in Accra, as the activity generates a lot of filth.
Some onion sellers at Ajin Kutuku spoke about their challenges at the new location.
We found this place not bad, but the problem is the place is small. It's not enough, so it has created a lot of confusion around.
Yeniso ama haso ama ko enima bebre wo ha esa ban ntimi yamai esa sisi aye bai baby e be dware kura na e be din mai na toilet kwa ebe kwa nusu ebe san.
Speaking to Metro News, the chairman for onion sellers and importers, Masawudu Salisu, said the relocated traders are comfortable with the new location, but the allocated space is too small to accommodate them. He called on authorities to take steps to complete the Ajen Kotoku market to allow for the remaining 40% who are yet to join.
Where we are, everybody has his own place. By moving to Ajen Kotoku, those people, all of them, about 40%, about 60%, they didn't have their place to sit down, to work. So we are pleading with the Honorable Minister. The place is too small, but we can manage it. But secondly, the contractor didn't finish his work at all. Out of 100%, he have 60%. The 40% didn't work.
According to him, toilet facilities is also a challenge.
And using this platform, this medium, to tell Ajen Kotoku people, the chiefs, MCE, and everybody not to encroach on the market land. Because Honorable Minister took a tour with us to show us from here to here, so we all know everything.
Municipal Chief Executive of Ga West, Clement Wilkinson, says his outfit is working around the clock to complete the market, which will ease congestion there.
Okay, so that's all we've got for you from the Metro Newsroom. You can follow us on social media for more updates. But this week, there's been an important exercise that has been happening. That's the Housing and Population Census. And for Ghana Moments, we are focusing on that. The president says that all Ghanaians should cooperate with census officials to ensure that the exercise is successful. He also assured the safety of citizens' information.
It's important for everybody in Ghana, citizen, Ghanaian, people who were present here on census night, everybody, to go through this exercise. It's a painless one. We have been assured by those who are collecting the information that it will be treated in a confidential manner. The act under which they're operating insists on that, and I have no doubt about the integrity and the credibility of those who are conducting the census, that they will keep to the provisions of the Act. But it is extremely important that each and every one of us, everybody who was here on census night, i.e. last night, the 27th of June, no matter where you come from, no matter your ethnic origin, no matter your religious persuasion, no matter your political affiliation, so long as you are a human being who was here last night on census night, you're entitled to be counted. And that is the exercise on which the Government Statistical Services embarked on and has began. It has begun with me. So I want to encourage everybody to participate in this exercise, to make sure that we have all the information that a census is meant to provide. It is not by accident that every 10 years, the United Nations and global bodies responsible for population have insisted that every nation should count its population, should count the number of people who are present on census night, so that it provides those of us who have the responsibility of taking decisions on behalf of our fellow citizens, the wherewithal, the means, the data that enables us to plan effectively for the development of the country. So it's an extremely important exercise, and I'm appealing to each and every one of you. Cooperate with the enumerators, cooperate with the census officials. They're doing an exceptionally important and sensitive job, and they need the cooperation of each and every one of us. So I'm appealing to you to cooperate with them, and let us have a successful 2020-2021 stroke census, because you all know why it was delayed from last year, so that this year's census is a successful one and will provide us with the information.
It's time now for our conversation about the state of security in the country. What I want to do is just give you a recap of some things that have happened that would, for want of a better expression, interfere with the peace, the general peace or the security of the country. I'll take you back as far back as last weekend, particularly Monday. We know that a social activist who was called Mohammed Ibrahim, popularly known as Kaka, was reportedly assaulted or beaten to pulp by unknown assailants or unidentified assailants. This happened around Saturday, and we understand he passed away on Monday after he was sent to the hospital. Prior to that, he had reported to the police death threats that had been sent to him because of his activism on social media. This person is a part of the Fix the Country campaign or protest, and they have been protesting virtually about their frustration with the state of the country. They talk about economic hardship, they talk about unemployment. Interesting thing is that on Monday, there was a burial for him, and the intention was to go and bury one person. But what happened was that 2 people were killed in what turned out to be a violent clash with the police. There are questions there that have not been answered. Also, I'll take you to Wa, where this was what, Thursday, Friday. A video, it started with a video that went viral of persons in military apparel assaulting some citizens. We understand that there was an alleged claim of a mobile phone theft, a mobile phone belonging to an officer. And so they went and reportedly assaulted people in trying to retrieve this mobile phone. Also in Agbogloshi, the relocation, that maybe would have been the better story told. We understand that military or security personnel, including military and fire service, stormed there to get the exercise underway. That's relocate the traders there to Ajin Kotoku. Tear gas was used, etc. Some people will assess that and say that the force used was reasonable, but that may not be comparable to what happened in Ejura and also what happened in Wa. This is a conversation that we have to have. It's a difficult conversation. We have to ask some tough questions nonetheless. I'm going to introduce my guests for this conversation. I'll start off with Professor Emmanuel Kwesi Ening. He's the director of the Faculty of Academic Affairs at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. He's also a security expert. We also have Peter Lanchenik Tobu. He's a member of parliament. He's an MP somewhere in Wa. I think I have an erroneous one, so my producer will check and let me know. Richard Kumado is also a security consultant, and he's in the studio with me. Good morning to you, Richard, and thanks for joining us. Bernard Morna is with the CPP. He's also with the Inter-Party Resistance Group. He's a convener there, and he'll also be joining us. I'll start with you, Mr. Kumado. Tell us, with the recap that I've done about security incidents this week, the question I'll ask you from where you sit and with the spectacle you wear, what is your impression about what is going on about the state of Ghana's security?
I think we've had a run of some insecurity issues in the country. And if you look at the various actions from the key players, they are doing their best to ensure that we've gone back to normalcy. The president is quickly instituted a public inquiry, and a panel of 4 members or 3 has been set up. Mm-hmm. You just heard the minister saying that they are in for good at Agbogloshi. The military hierarchy said the boys who misbehave at Wa in court will be fished out and dealt with. So there has been reactions and counter-reactions from those who must act, and let's hope that their actions bring a conclusion to some of these things so that we go back to normalcy.
I was reading an article by somebody who used to be a top person in security, Mr. Totobi Kwashe, and he made the point about the Justice Eno Short Commission and the work that they did and the recommendations that came up and how we are yet to see actual implementation of this. He's not the only one. We've seen commentary, a lot of commentary about we will hear the government response. We will hear maybe responses from the state security agencies, the police, the military. But the question is whether we'll see any action. So you take, for instance, the police involved in, or the military involved in the shooting at Ejura. are we going to see beyond conversations about indiscipline and conversations about the standards of not just the police but the security generally? Any officer brought to book for the lives that have been lost, for the damage, for the harm that was caused to people, because these are matters of criminality?
We've not done well as a nation when it comes to implementing recommendations from commissions. Let's go back a little into our history. Ghana at 50, then the Constitution Review Commission, the Judgment Depth, then the almighty Ayawaso West Wagon. I think we perform averagely or below average. It's with that spectacle that people are saying that this particular one will follow the same pattern. What happened at Ejura in particular is a security failure, and it's a security operations failure, and you will need people with practicality in security operations to deal with the issue.
Let's break it down. You say it's a security failure and a security operations failure. Break that down for us.
What happened is that there's an operation at Ejura where a crowd has gone on demonstration, sort of, because they've lost something or they've lost a loved one. The police, who are the first line of call, must come to the scene to ensure that many more lives have not been lost. Within that space, there's a security control issue there, and that was where the communication became a problem. Security operations failure because you brought in the military, and the military has a specific role to play. In that particular operation, they had problems with coordination and communication, and that created the many problems they had. In WA, it was just mere indiscretion and negligence of young officers who took the law into their own hands.
Okay, I want to bring in Professor Inin on this. He's also a security expert, and he's the director of the Faculty of Academic Affairs at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Good morning to you, Prof, and thanks for joining us. The question I want to ask, or what I want to put before you, is what people have said, that Ejura did not suddenly happen and could have been prevented. What are your thoughts from the security point of view on this?
Well, I think I agree with those who argue that way. And I've also made a point consistently last week that Ejura only epitomizes a set of problems that are present across the country. So it's critical and important that we learn lessons from Ejura. And what are some of those lessons that we need to learn? One has been the failure of gathering, whatever we want to call it, information, intelligence, and analyzing it in a manner that allows those who need to take decisions to take them. Ejura represents a failure of an ability by the police service and its representatives, and also by the intelligence services, to capture the changing mood of the society, of the community, and at every step in time advise those who ought to have made that decision. Now, the initial physical abuse of Kaka, the rising tensions in terms of the discursive shifts in the choice of words, body language, the massing of the youth prior to his burial, ought to have led those who were on the scene to ask for reinforcements, but probably even prior to the reinforcements, engage those who matter in the community. The chief, imams, church leaders, youth leaders, market women, or market leaders. So there were multiple levels at which these failures took place. Now, a textual analysis of the argument now that there was a security assessment or intelligence assessment that they were going to attack police stations and kill people is not only bogus, but it's an insult to the collective intelligence of the people in this country. what was the basis for drawing that intelligence assessment? And then the conclusion that people would have been killed and they were going to burn the police station. If that intelligence assessment is correct, which it is not, then it ought, that conclusion was arrived at because it was built upon something. Intelligence assessments then just don't arrive at a conclusion that says, oh, Kwesenin is going to burn down a police station and to kill people. What have you picked up? What signals have you seen, heard? How have you put those different signals together to draw that conclusion? Now, when you draw that conclusion, the political decision making is first driven by prevention. So those who are saying that a drill and the actions that took place came from an intelligence assessment, that are they arguing also that that assessment concluded that the military who were on the ground and using a COVID whatever prevention vehicle was the best option? No. You know, and therein lies the point about the lessons that we need to learn. So that is the intelligence to political side and the multiple failures that came out from that side. The second relates to the speed with which a duty of care ought to have been shown. Immediately a drill happened, I think I made this consistent argument that, look, there was a need for a signal, the presence of the state, to demonstrate that we cared, that whatever had happened could have been prevented, that there's an interest in prevention and in healing the wounds and reconciling the society. It is crucial, and therein lies the differences in leadership. If you look at war and the speed with which the military and its leaders said, we won't tolerate this. We would need to talk to those who are hurting. We would need to reassure the community. That level of leadership was not demonstrated in a drill. So there are important lessons that we need to learn, because you know the symbolism in the powerful videos and the pictures that we have seen, based on where we are located, the youth bulge, availability of small arms, the frustration that we are seeing, the sense of exclusion, and now the narrative of victimhood has created a fertile basis for exploitation by those who seek to hurt us as a nation. So we need new approaches very quickly, in which the state begins to encourage us to draw back from the brink, demonstrating leadership that says, look, yes, mistakes are part of our lives. The mistakes have been made. We are willing to learn from it and to genuinely send signals of concern and of willingness and a willingness and a preparedness to improve on what has happened. You know, dismissive statements about intelligence assessments, going to ban police stations, you know, where the Parliamentary Committee for Defense and Interior called some of those people saying this and asked them to provide those intelligence assessments, would they be able to do it? Okay, so it is not just about attempting to dismiss and to cover up. Okay, let's not forget that the intelligence officers on the ground also need support. They need guidance. Okay, ex post facto justifications for actions taken that has resulted in the loss of lives and the destruction of property cannot be tolerated. Finally, when you see Edria and you see the police water cannon vehicle desperate to escape from bare-fisted youths and children who are frustrated, angry, and who want to strike a blow at anything that represents the state, the optics become dangerous for us. Because when such a vehicle desperately in intimidating the people with water cannons, then turns round to escape. And I thank God they managed to escape, because had that vehicle been blocked, we wouldn't have liked what would have happened. Okay, so Edra and several other instances of increasing violence. And once, well, let me make this point. Those who deny that there's a certain level of insecurity are not being fair to the people of Ghana. You know, a recognition that people are afraid is useful. It provides early warning. It helps us to say, okay, Kwesi, look, you say you feel insecure. What is it that makes you feel insecure? Because by picking the intelligence from what people claim makes them feel insecure, it helps us to become more effective. It helps us to have a hands-on approach. It helps us to send a signal to those who fear that, look, we care about you, we've heard you, and we are willing and prepared to do something about it. We must begin to see both security and insecurity as collaborative ventures between those who provide the service and those of us who are recipients of the service. It's when we believe in the collaborative engagement, driven by a common desire to build safe societies, secure environments, where we can go about our businesses free from fear. Then we can say we've improved the relationships between communities, individuals, uniformed people, and covert people. That is the way that we build strong, functional, responsive public institutions.
Prof, and you hinted at this. You talked about it a bit, but the question I want to ask, which is coming from a letter from a former information minister under the PNDC era, that's Mr. pardon me, Mr. Totobi Kwache. He talks about the response to, this frustration, this growing frustration that the youth are trying to express through their planned protests, which they are not being allowed. His worry is that they could turn their attention to alternative ways of expressing themselves, and they could be knocking on the doors of extremism. What do you say to that?
Well, I need to be careful with my choice of words here. Public policy making must be driven by the grander vision and agenda of building strong institutions, and by extension, a strong, functional, responsive state. I think in the post-independent state, ministers have said one thing when they have power, and also when they have less power. So we should be careful with our choice of words when we seek to make suggestions to an incumbent government. I wear glasses today because I demonstrated during the PNDC era. I was arrested on the Graphic Road, and I was tortured until I really lost my sight.
Let's talk about the ministerial inquiry that has been set up, and also Parliament. The speakers. Pardon?
Let me finish making my point because
very well. I could barely hear you. Pardon me.
Okay. No, I'm talking about the need to ensure that in presenting options for incumbent governments to respond to an ongoing crisis, we need to use a language that is collaborative, that is respectful, and that engages. Precisely because we need to build that advice based on earlier experiences that some individuals may have had. And that is the way that such suggestions can be fruitful and useful. And I think we all know from the history of how demonstrations have been dealt with in this country that they have not always been dealt with kids' gloves. If you ask my dear friend Kweku Pencil, lawyer Kweku Pencil, he will tell you of the brutalities meted out to university students in 1982, 83, 84. And when universities were closed, people lost lives. People were maimed for life. So let's use those experiences of the 80s and the 90s. And in seeking to prefer suggestions, do them in a manner that we can learn lessons from previous experience. Using a language that is dismissive, disrespectful to the incumbent does not help to create dialogue. So you can ask your question about the ministerial committee.
Very well. And I want to bring your attention to maybe what I will call civil and military relations. You know, Ghana's history will give an indication of how there would appear to be some difficulty with that relationship, which, you know, improved in the Fourth Republic. We seem to have improved. But with these recent happenings, could we be heading back, or is it possible to say that these recent happenings where we see military officers kneeling and appearing to be taking shots, tarnish, you know, the relationship that has improved in the Fourth Republic?
Let me start by saying this. Improved civil-military relations from the beginning of the Fourth Republic can be predicated on the work of a couple of individuals. General Coleman, retired General Coleman, Mr. Kwanson, General Ajimfra, an intellectual impetus given by Professor Ibu Hatchford, a consistent theoretician who managed to get practitioners to believe that civil-military relations could be improved. All this work driven by an institution called the ASDR, African Security Dialogue and Research, that created a hallowed space within which retirees, active service personnel, politicians, and academicians met, and over a tipple or two began to discuss how to move civil-military relations in a more positive dialogic manner. This process was also backed by members of the South African Parliament from the ANC side, who were interested in sharing their experiences from being characterized as you know, rebels, terrorists, warriors, but now in power, and the need to be open-minded about building relationship with those who oppress them. So this is the practical intellectual context within which what you properly characterize as the improved relations that may now be tarnished. I think there are several instances of this confrontation that could have been prevented. So let me give a couple of suggestions. One relates to the role of Parliament in all this. You know, the military itself, by itself, cannot move without civil authority ordering them to move. Okay, the narratives about civil control or civil stroke democratic control and oversight is something that we need to better understand. The military, intelligence, all these units cannot move if those civilians in political authority don't order them to move. Okay, so there are two facets to your question. One is the quality of the civil democratic control and the oversight infrastructures as to the extent to which they understand the way that the security agencies work. Their internal structures, their mechanisms for control, internal processes for discipline, blah, 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 blah. The second is how to say, when we use these institutions in public order management, what can become the potential long-term impact on our democratic ethos and in our desire to build democratic institutions? I think we need to get those questions right, and we need to bring that debate into the public space. The way things look now, and I hope that earlier in your program, maybe you've gone back the last 7 years and given examples of where there has been this confrontation. Every time uniformed officers confront the civilian populace, and it results in violence, in destruction of property, in the maiming of people, and in death, it tarnishes their reputation. And I'll give you just two examples. One is this retreat that we saw in Adria. The second was a case either earlier this year or last year, where some military officers got engaged in a land issue in the Senya area, and the public arrested them and, maltreated them, and the video was trending. It's a dangerous development when those who are the last bastion as an institution to protect the state and its citizens themselves become the victims of the anger of those that they seek to protect. That aura of invincibility around the military must not be broken. The frequent confrontations and what looks like the loss of that invincibility is dangerous to our own security and our sense of protection. So we need to go back to the table and to say, how do we best recreate and improve civil-military relations? How can we do it in such a way that there is a public buy-in of the functions, the delivery of those functions to the public in a manner that recreates confidence, that recreates trust, that recreates a buy-in that we need them and they need us. There's a binary relation or a synergistic relationship here. We need them to provide their services so we can go about our businesses properly, but we need also to appreciate that service that is provided through our respect, our engagement, and our willingness to continue to pay or to support that service. So it's a double-sided thing. But the fulcrum around which this relationship can be improved is the quality of democratic and civil control. And that control is lacking. It's increasingly becoming obvious that the quality of that control needs to be improved.
Before I bring in, I'd like to bring in Bernard Mona at some point, but before that, I want you to touch on the cracks of, or to some extent, the cracks of the matter. We can trace this matter back to Fix the Country, a protest that had been planned, but severally.
I would like to talk about those people because my only interaction with some of them, I would rather
not speak about that.
To myself.
Very well. Very well, that's fine. But lastly, what do you say to not just police accountability, but security accountability in the wake of this ministerial probe, public inquiry, as well as the probe by Parliament? Many feel that we do not see an end to that. Recommendations will come out, but no action necessarily will be taken. And this raises questions of accountability. We'll talk about it and nothing gets done.
Well, I think something has shifted this time around. Something has shifted in a manner that the recommendations of this panel must be taken seriously. You know, committees of inquiry have been used since colonial times as a political tool to create an impression that something will be done about a problem. So the committee of inquiry is giving a remit, a duration, a period to submit a report, and then government takes its time to bring a white paper, by which time the initial tensions would have died down, and after a couple of discussions around the recommendation, that is the end of it. This time round, there's a very subtle shift of anger, of frustration, and of a certain, not an elitist desire to see change and implementation, but a groundswell of public, community-located desire to see change, and that the recommendations are implemented.
Very well.
So I am quite hopeful that if once more we go back to the intelligence assessments, if those intelligence assessments are of any quality, all intelligence assessments from the country must be pointing in one direction: a restlessness in the population and a desire to see some change. And the recommendations from the Edura panel or a parliamentary committee of inquiry must all point in that direction that, look, we need to respond or to implement the recommendations that are coming out. I think the patience of the youth and the bulk of the population is creating a toxic mix, as I've said earlier on, of a sense of exclusion. They feel dispossessed, and right now they feel as if they are victims of an elite consensus that does not seem to understand them, that does not seem to take their desires into consideration. And that patience is wearing thin, and it's wearing thin very fast. So I think this time around, whatever recommendations are made, majority of them will be implemented in one form or the other, because they need to be implemented at the local level where the frustrations are building and are reaching a tipping point.
Very well. We look to see how that goes. But thank you so much for joining us. That's Professor Emmanuel Kwesi, Director of the Faculty of Academic Affairs at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, and also a security expert. We're grateful to you for your time. I'll throw his question, the question I asked him that he didn't want to go into to you, Mr. Kumode, just before I go to Bernard Mona. It comes back to, in the immediate term, this comes back to the Fix the Country protest. This gentleman was associated with that group. This is a group that started a protest in May online. They wanted to take that protest to the streets. Severally, the state has prevented them from doing that. And recently, the NDC Youth Wing is trying to do a protest. We now understand that the police has granted that. But let's look at how much of a security matter fix the country is and how it should have been properly approached.
Now, when you go to National Security Council, they have a big basket there, and they have so many other items in it. And those items are seen as what we call National Security Risk Assessment items. Dr. Enning spoke about intelligence assessment, but national security does also what we call the risk assessment. Demonstrations are one of them. Unemployment is one of them. Insecurity in itself is one of them. Lawlessness is one of them. Then instability is also one of them. And for
but it would appear, not to catch you, but it would appear in this circumstance that a lot of these things that have happened thereafter could have been prevented if the demonstration was allowed.
That's what the point I was coming to make. And for we in the security intelligence community, my background is the BNI for years, so I have dealt with national security institutions all over the world. For we whose job is to feed with intelligence, or we eat intelligence, we would have preferred the demonstrations to come on. We are not happy when people are not talking, and we are not happy when people are not moving. We don't know what the alternative will be. And you can understand the letter to Toby Kwachi was talking about. So we would have allowed the demonstrators to go on, the demonstration to go on, whilst we work with them and be with them to really understand some of the things they are talking about.
That would
then
have been
it becomes a
approach.
political issue for national leadership to deal with. Suppressing them and preventing them from going on those demonstrations has made some of them a little bit aggressive, and those are the root causes of extremism in societies, where you are talking about how people could become aggressive and recalcitrant and go on so many wild stuff. So from where I see it, I would have preferred a demonstration to go on, and that can be traced to what happened at Ejura.
Okay, so on that, it appears there's a change in strategy. The initial announcement by the NDC Youth Wing about their demonstration, we heard the police initially say that they could not allow that. Subsequently, it's going to be allowed, and they are going to provide the security. Let me bring in Bernard Morna. He's the convener for the Inter-Party Resistance. Good morning to you, Mr. Morna. Forgive me for holding you on too long, but let's have you weigh in on this conversation.
Good morning, madam.
Yes, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning. I'd like you to weigh in on this conversation before we talk about the upcoming protest. Just about the security of the state, the concerns about public order management, issues of brutality.
Well, I'm currently in the Upper West region, and I'm sure that you are very much aware that there is a certain level of security disorder that in the Upper West region, when military personnel thought that their phone had gotten missing, in tracing their phone, they got to a particular spot and everybody becomes a victim of their brutalities. And this is not just a one-off situation. If you go to what happened in Ejura, it is obvious that the military have been trained in a trigger-happy manner, and that the least opportunity they get, they want to exercise the skills that they have been taught, and therefore they have skills to shoot, and they start to shoot. You do know that during the registration of voters in the Volta region in particular, the actions of the military and our security was not something that any one of us could tolerate. And yet, these people are supposed to be our brothers, our sisters. Their only advantage is that state has sponsored them to be in uniform. And I keep insisting that the level of disorder, it is an endorsement or it is an approval by the president, who is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, and that these atrocities meted out of individuals and other persons could not have taken place without the tacit endorsement of our president, who chooses in most instances to speak about foreign brutalities as opposed to local brutalities. And so, therefore, it appears that the level of security in our country has deteriorated. It is also obvious to the majority of us that the president and the security apparatus have failed in their track to ensure that citizens are safeguarded and protected as the president has sworn an oath to do. So I think that generally we are living in a heightened state of insecurity. And the earlier every one of us begin to speak about this level of anxiety that confronts our people, the better. Otherwise, you would think that something is happening. Hitherto, when we were talking about these things, people thought that they were just limited to Accra. Today, it is in Ejura. The next day, it is in Wa. Who knows where it will be and where you will find yourself? The regional PRO of the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council was assaulted because the soldiers took him for any ordinary person. When he was even saying that, please, I am doing this on official purpose, they assaulted him brutally. So tomorrow, if any one of us decide that we will not speak against this, they will catch you, the reverend or the bishop somewhere. After brutalizing you, they get to realize who you are, but the brutalization would have taken place. So this is a call for all of us that, look, President Akufo-Addo must wake up from his slumber. This is a call to Kandapa that you are not Minister for National Security just to be walking about and gallivanting in Accra and claiming and showing edifices that national security rollout. Edifices are not national security rollout. The Minister for Interior must also be alert, and above all, the Minister for Defense must be told in the face that our security has totally deteriorated, and we must work hard to ensure that we bring back security to sanity.
It's really worrying because and what you're saying is similar to what Professor Ining said, that it cannot be disputed that there's a level of insecurity in the country. It's really worrying when a chunk of it is coming from those who are supposedly supposed to be providing you that security. But that brings us to the March for Justice demonstration by the NDC Youth Wing, which the police is now saying they are willing to provide security for. You are calling on every political party to join or to get on board this protest. What will this protest that you're joining and asking everybody else to join achieve?
Can I put it this way? What would your going to church every Sunday or every day lead you to? What you are praying or saying your 5 daily prayers in a day achieve? It is for you to remind the Supreme Being that you are still in existence and that you need the support of the Supreme Being to continue to exist. In this instance, our Supreme Being is the President of Ghana, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, who has gone to sleep and is snoring. And because he's gone to sleep and is snoring, there is heightened insecurity in our nation. If the president is asleep, citizens must be on the street to protest our unhappiness about the level of security deterioration and the inimicalness that has been visited on the people of Ghana. And so we are going out there as a right of as a right given to us by the Constitution of Ghana, that look, when something is not right, citizens have a right to demonstrate, to show our disgust about the level of injustice that is permeating within our society. And so this thing is to alert the international community that our president, who is excited to be criticizing the killing and murder of George Floyd, our president who was...
Hello. I'm afraid we've lost him. We've lost that connection there. But the point I was going to ask is that this would be a political protest, and how willing will supporters of other political parties be in terms of joining this protest? But I'll come back to Mr. Kumado on this. This is what I want to ask you. Given that a protest was disallowed.
I think your papers are getting full. You need more.
Yes. Given that a protest was disallowed, or there were several attempts to block that protest from happening through the court, and this one is going to be allowed, it is still a matter of concern. The police will be there to ensure safety, but this is not just a matter of security or economics. Also, it becomes a political matter because this is the youth wing of a political party. How should this be approached by those in charge of our security? This protest that's coming up on 6th July.
Definitely, is the two-way approach. The protesters themselves must conform to the national laws in terms of what goes on in protesting and expressing your grievances openly. The approach of the security agencies has been worrying, and their switch to allowing them to go on demonstration will be seen as a trap. That we ask you not to go on demonstration, so we set the perimeters and we draw the red line. And when you cross the red line, we are going to come after you. Remember, it's also a political demonstration. And whatever happens to the demonstrators will go to hurt the ruling party. So they need to weigh it properly. Let the demonstration go on. Let the perimeters be set up. And let everybody conform. And let Ghana become a peaceful place for all of us.
Okay, I'll go back to Bernard Mona. I'm told we have him back on Zoom. Bernard, thanks for reconnecting with us. I appreciate that. You are calling all members of all political parties to join this protest by the NDC wing, youth wing, coming up 6th July. Are you sure that you're going to have members or followers of the NPP, for instance, follow or join this protest? I think you need to press the unmute button, Bernard. Hello? Okay, I'm going to have to ask my producers to get him to press the unmute button. And so, that, you know, Kwesiani was making an interesting point about what all of this means for our democracy. This is a country that is touted as the beacon of democracy, not just within the regional bloc, but also in Africa. This is also a president that some years back we saw as a younger man leading protests that are written in the, for instance, Kumi Preko. People were demonstrating against the introduction of VAT, etc., because it will make life harder. So he had become a symbol for such protests. Interesting turnaround right now. He's president, and these young Ghanaians, Fix the Country, have been trying to do their protest and tell him, and you know, generally the managers of the country, that these are the difficulties that we are going through, etc. That has not been allowed. Mr. Inin talked about how certain statements should be made with care or caution in response to what Mr. Tutubi Kwachi said. But it is not, is it unreasonable to say that if the young people, if the citizens try to assert their right to expression, to demonstrate, and there are blocks, they might turn their attention elsewhere and might not be good for all of us?
No, definitely.
And it brings the conversation about
I think Dr. Kwesiani was trying to be diplomatic about it. And even though people have to be held accountable or liable for whatever they say, I can also understand him from that aspect. But I think the president assuming office adopted a security structure that is creating problems for his government. And we've spoke about it. And so long as they keep on having those security structures in place, there's going to be problems. You remember Kwesiani talk about communication and the role of the state in the means of what was going on. In security management or in security operation, like what we saw in Ejura, there were two things. Communication was a problem for them. Communication became a problem as a result of coordination. When the military came, who instructed the military to come? What was their role? Who was in charge? Which we call in security command and control. That wasn't there, and that was a problem. Now, when you take it to the other side of the periphery, we have what we call lawlessness, insecurity, and national instability. What you are seeing is insecurity as a result of what? Lawlessness, and it could trigger national instability. And that feeds into what my big brother or my uncle Tutubi Kwachi was talking about. Dr. Kwesiani knows that when you go back to study extremism, and why many of these terrorists recruited many of our young boys might not necessarily be as a result of unemployment, but it's as a result of suppressing dissent. And once you do so, it's like you have a child at home and you are not listening to the child. You begin to speak to people outside, and you have no control what goes on out there. So you want to embrace the child, and you have a dialogue. So I agree with my uncle, Dr. Eni, when he talk about dialogue within the communities. Once you begin to dialogue, and the dialogue must come on 3 levels, from national level, which is national politics or national politicians, then the community, then the relationship between police engagement within those communities helps to lower down tension, and people then begin to see themselves as one people. But to the extent that there's confrontation and there's this agitation from both sides, nobody wins and nobody loses. And remember, the president, again, for national development, you need unity and cohesion. And that is where you want to clean your space by ensuring that you allow these young ones to go on demonstration and have the men with them. Do you know that in this particular dispensation, we've recruited many more people than ever?
Well.
So we have the men to ensure that demonstrations are done in a manner that do not degenerate into chaos in this country.
You raise an interesting point about the democracy and this matter about suppressing dissent. I want to bring you back, Bernard Mona, as I'm told our connection is better now. Bernard, thanks again for joining us, and pardon us, apologies for the break in there. What I want to talk to you about is this democracy that we find ourselves in, which we have been complimented severally about being the beacon of democracy in Africa, etc. It is important to say that suppressing dissent is part of politics. Any government will be interested in that. You cannot allow everybody to get on the streets all the time to protest. Don't you agree? Hello, Bernard. Hello, Bernard. Hello, Bernard. Hello, Bernard. Hello, Bernard. I don't know if that's the internet, but I was hearing myself. But so that's what I was trying to understand. That, and you raised a fantastic point. This suppression of dissent. It might be too much, but it's still a necessary tool. It might be evil, but it's necessary in a democracy to some extent. You're managing a country. You cannot always let people have their way. Sometimes you may know what is best as their leader or as the leadership.
You don't, Francisca. We've been all over the world. I've stayed in the UK for almost 10 years. You saw in the case of George Floyd, even in the means of curfew, those guys violated the curfew rules, and they were all over the place, in the UK, in Germany. When you suppress dissent, and the people realize you are not allowed them to demonstrate, the spontaneity of whatever happened at Ejura was not planned. But that was demonstration, and the protocol, the covert protocols were violated. You saw it. So once you don't manage the control space properly, it spill out, and what we call spill out. And once spill out happens, there will be security breaches. And these security breaches come with its own consequences and repercussions on both sides, not just on the part of the demonstrators, but on the part of our national government. That is why you would need people who really understand. Dr. Annie talked about engaging the cycle of the people. In security management, that is what you do. So it's not just the case that people must always be in the street to demonstrate. In any case, Francisca, there are various forms of demonstration. Face the Country started on social media. And they had an armies. So they could have still demonstrated on social media.
And they were not impeded.
Exactly. And they could have, you saw some other guys with placards standing by the roadside. Those are forms of demonstration. But once people keep on pressing and you keep on closing the door, they wouldn't come knocking again. And before you realize, you get up in the morning and there's chaos everywhere. So I believe that the managers of national security or the security institutions that make it up to the National Security Council, for which BNI is one call of them in charge of intelligence gathering, the intelligence community must wake up to its responsibility, and national leadership must understand the psychic of what goes on in governance.
You know, you've taken my last question away from me, but that's fine. Let me get on the phone because the Zoom is failing us and give Bernard a final weigh in on this conversation. Bernard, thanks again, and sorry about the connection with the Zoom. Two things on my mind that I wanted to ask you was about whether or not this call to all other political parties to join, or members of the political parties to join this protest by the NDC Youth Wing will amount to much. I'm not sure. Do you think those who are members or supporters of MPP will join? That's one. And I also wanted to speak to you about this matter of suppression of dissent, it's not being a necessary evil in a democracy?
First and foremost, the person whose death triggered the other deaths, the demonstrations, is not of any other political party than the New Patriotic Party. Ibrahim Mohammed, aka Kaka, is of the New Patriotic Party. He only showed his unhappiness about a president that he campaigned for, worked so hard for. The president wins elections, and he was convinced that his circumstances and that of many other young people would change, and that things are not changing, things are rather deteriorating. Consequently, he joined the social movement, fixed the country. The result is that he's been murdered in cold blood. Other members of our society decided that, being a known critic of the management of our nation and the level of poverty that is eating everyone up, it is important to stand up, that his death must not just pass, and that we must show that he was not the only one.
Well, dead men cannot speak, and I really wouldn't want to have others speak to his political association or colorization. But I guess the point you're making is that the frustration or the current state of the economy is felt by everybody.
It is hitting everybody. And therefore, when I make a call, or when we make a call, that come and join us, and doctor is there and says that no, he will not join. Doctor, you don't know when you are going to be attacked. The regional PRO of the Regional Coordinating Council of the Upper West Region, if I had asked him to come and join the protest before he was attacked, he would say no, he is apolitical. You interviewing me would also tell me you are apolitical. But when the brutalizations are coming, they don't determine which political party you belong. And because all of us are affected, it is a call for citizens to rise against the level of injustice, the level of brutalization, the level of economic hardship that is eating each and every one up. So I urge you that on Tuesday, don't just sit at the comfort of your home. Doctor, I urge you, including our families, that this is a national call to be able to redeem our sovereignty from being shackled away from us. And therefore, everybody must participate. Now, getting to the security and the use of the security and sometimes the courts to want to muscle out citizens' right to protest. I can tell you the alternative to a peaceful demonstration will be a violent and volcanic eruption that our government cannot contain. And when that happens, the limited security will not be able to kill every one of us. The judges will not be available. First and foremost, they will also be struggling for their lives, let alone going to the courts to go and sit down to say they are adjudicating. So the only option available is that citizens want to go on peaceful protest. The police and the security must abide by the rules of the game and allow citizens to conduct themselves within the frame of the law. Anything to muscle us out, I can assure you, we will not tolerate. And once we will not tolerate and they will not tolerate, we will be in a state of Armageddon.
Okay, grateful for your time, Bernard Mona. He's convener for Interparty Resistance, IPRAN. I'll come back to Richard Kumado in the studio. Richard, and you've been giggling while he's been speaking. Why is that?
That's your brother. He's calling you on to demonstration.
I heard him. That's all I will say. I want us to talk about the culture of not just the police, but the security as well. But because a lot of the time we hear police brutalities, maybe I'll be using the word police a lot. But what many, if you go on social media, if you walk around conversations that people are having, the impression is that it appears the culture of the police has been reduced to lawlessness. You don't find a certain assertiveness that they would approach their work with, especially in public order, managing the crowd and all that. What's your take on that?
No, two things went wrong against us. We put the military in front and put the police back. And you have a wife at home.
That communicated something.
Exactly. You have a wife at home, and anytime you have a problem, you are not allowed to sit there and solve it, and somebody else is brought in. It takes away your authority and power, and you feel inferior. And that is what is happening.
Which is what Dr. Enin also alluded to with the retreat, the video on social media where you could see angry youth charging at the police van, the van that sprays the hot water also, and the van was retreating, reversing. That is a bad image for a security agency in the country. That tells not just the people charging at it and the community or the country, the world, that they had to retreat. They couldn't, you know.
Definitely, because he took the power from them and he said somebody else should lead. And the authority, you know, Dr. Enin said they wouldn't move until somebody asked them to move. There was an order from above. We didn't go through the police, but it went above their head. And if you have worked within the security agencies before, that is something we take seriously and we take it personal. So once the order is above our head, we allow them to go and let them make mistakes and let them be held accountable. So in law enforcement or in security management in all, you have what we call leadership and authority, because somebody has to be held accountable. So it's not that we don't have police people who can do the job. I have run with the crime scene people.
But just to butt in, when that, so that will be some kind of internal egoism going on.
That's what I told you, that the president had done a security structure.
Allowing the military to go in and making their mistakes, in some cases like this, comes at a cost of people's lives.
Because the police has been trained, they are the custodians of maintaining law and order, and not the police, and not the military. So once you bring in the military and you place them above us, we allow them to go in. And that is what we are seeing.
How do we, and I wanted to bring in fact, before I ask that question, I wanted to bring in a recent ranking. Ghana has been ranked on a peace index. This is by the Institute for Economics and Peace. This is a few weeks ago, where they ranked Ghana as 38th out of 163 countries in the world, which is not bad. But looking at this statistic coming in and looking around us, the situation that is happening, that could indicate that we probably will be dropping.
No, definitely look at the parameters they are looking at. And in security management, in some of these ratings, time is of essence. And within 1 week, whatever you have achieved, it has eroded. So we say that security is what helps you to maintain your gain and your composure and posture. I think we must go back to the basics and get things do properly. Otherwise, we are losing this so fast that people are raising all manner of issues. I wanted to give you an example of the crime scene department of this country. Do you know the police have guys within the crime scene department that everywhere there's a crime, they could go and reconstruct the crime scene and tell you what happens, and whatever you take in the way, you get the same results. Why don't we use them? So the police might not even have the whole resources at their disposal, but deploying what they have to gain security compliance become a major issue as a result of internal fighting and political standings of some of the things we are doing.
Wow. Well, going forward, what do we do? How do we save the reputation of the police? How do we ensure that there's proper management of public order? How do we also ensure that, because it's not just one-sided, we ensure that the citizens also manage their emotions and their reactions, looking at how they were charging at the police vehicle. Some people even claim that they were holding, what do you call it?
Stones?
No, aside the stones, they were holding flammable substances. How do we get every side to manage itself properly? Because as Dr. Enin said, it's a binary relationship. There's a need for a synergy. We can't do away with the police.
We are in a relationship with the police, and we are operating within a space. The citizens are reacting to whatever the police throw in there. It's like a boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband-wife relationship. People will react to whatever you throw in there. So the relationship management space is controlled by the other side. And the public are looking up to the police. Once the police throw in love there, you will see love. If they throw in courtesy there, you will see courtesy. We've all been traveling all over the place. When you get lost, it's not the police you speak to. But today, people are afraid of the police or the military. And everywhere they go, they cause chaos. And that is not looking good for them. You remember in one of the states,
with them. It should
you
start
remember
with
in
the
one of the
security.
State of the Nation's address, the president was on top of his voice saying that police must work hard to redeem their image.
So it should start with the police. Very well.
It must start with the police.
We'll go for a break, but what I want to do is just to get a few of the messages coming through, because I don't want you to send your messages and we ignore them. This person says, we have our trained military men and women whose parents, children and siblings live among us. Don't they think they would become targeted victims? Fair question, but I'm hoping that nobody will target their relatives because of what is happening. It would be unfair. This person says, good morning. My question is about the permits granted to the NDC Youth Wing to demonstrate. Is it not a plot? Oh, come on. I'm not sure it's a plot.
Francesca, hold on. The first question, you know in Africa, it's a community-based living. So you touch one, you touch everybody. That is why the person is raising that question.
It's a fair question to ask, but I was saying that we shouldn't, it's not a thought we should have
Exactly.
or act
So we
on.
need to be educating our people more.
Yes. Very well. I'm not sure the police has said that they are permitting the NDC demonstration to target them. I'm not sure that's the case. They have said that they're going to provide them with the necessary
Definitely
security.
there'll be guidelines. My only fear is that they must comport to themselves. And
Yes, so we are hoping that they will not escalate into something else. But this is Inside Pages. I'm Francisca Kakrafos, and I want us to take a quick break. We'll return with more conversations. Stay with us.
Logo the bottom. Where you say 80 local channels na mo hedo. And so pictures here clear. E 5 times better. As in other channels that could be sure. So go the mention mon tram raka why. Oh, what a pictures.
Who knows tomorrow?
What a picture. What do AD plus decoder or multi TV and now Electroland agent PR natural local channels now HD the here so better
Star 879 hash.
numbers from Kubu box and now the advert AD channels now.
Get an HD Plus decoder from now till the 9th of August for just $89.99 Ghana cedis and enjoy 3 months free subscription. Enjoy all the excitement and live sports action in the HD Plus Air Bosso Fili promo. Promo lasts from 7th June to 9th August 2021. Visit hd-plus.com.gh or call 024-243-9872 for more info.
Half a nose for good things.
Yenim say whoop football pa. And nothing a high sense as sponsor Euro 2020. Edia Mauno. Nisa something na yatete TV so say who Edia Mauno. A high sense Euro 2020 TV super promo. Kahoe kwajo brand new high sense TV and board that for pictures near clear na color near deep sound quality this so dear one it here high sense TV so dear entry power about down one access you are akona utusa abefo everything 18th June akofim 11th July a high sense Euro 2020 TV super promo e ma refi say high sense nko na ma 5 years warranty high sense Euro 2020 TV super promo. Ekoso wa high sense showrooms e wa Ghana fa na nyina. Kwaje dia na nsanya o. High sense everyday prices for everyday people. High sense official sponsor at the Euro 2020.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yeah.
It be old cargo.
Can I join you guys?
Yeah.
Always drink fresh, natural eggs, mineral water.
You still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome back to Inside Pages. I'm wrapping up my conversation with Richard Kumado, a security consultant. We've been talking about the state of security in the country and looking at assessing the operations of the police and other security personnel, as well, the military, of course. And in wrapping up, I wanted to ask you, because I remember you raised this point about which Dr. Enine also talked about, the issue of oversight, where the orders from above really come from for the military to intervene when there was police presence or the police was there. We have a national security ministry, we have an interior ministry, we have a defense ministry, we have another minister of state in that sense, and we have the national security coordinator and the deputy. So where is this instruction coming from?
Yeah, it's coming from somebody who thinks they know more security than the operatives. So you remember in the case of Ejura, it was the regional minister who instructed the military to move in. And Dr. Enine stressed the point of intelligence analysis because they are changing the goalposts. And when they do that, with those who have worked within the system, they keep on complaining, people speak against them. But I have been trained to know 100% you are lying. Just that I wouldn't say you have lied. And lying is not the proper thing to say. But when you keep on changing the goalposts, that's why Dr. Enine was stressing what was the elements of the intelligence analysis and what was the outcome. Is it the outcome that informed them that the military must go in? Was the police handicap? Somebody miscalculated, indiscretion, and was not security prudent. And they sent the military in there and created a mess. But Francisca, guess what? The president launched the National Security Strategy, which are called SOP for the Ministry of National Security. The Ministry of National Security have an oversight responsibility of the institutions that make it to the National Security Council. And that is how the coordination needs to be done. Once you're having problem with coordination, things could be done haphazardly. And we saw it at Ejura. And disobedience and indiscretion hit them out at work. And the military officer was saying that these are guys who just started work 4 days ago. And that was their first assignment of slapping people in the street of war. It means that orientation would need to be taken seriously. It means that
Comes back to
discipline,
their training, the police training.
discipline has invaded, and training has become a major issue within the security agencies. And once you said everybody should go in, what the danger there is that once the selection process is flawed, the outcome will be flawed. And we are seeing the various outpour of inconsistencies and ineffectiveness within our security agencies.
Okay, we'll leave it here, but that's our conversation on the state of Ghana's security. Grateful to you, Richard Kumodi,
Thank you.
security consultant. We also had Professor Emmanuel Kwesienin, another security expert, and with the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, join us. Bernard Mona, convener for inter-party resistance, calling everybody to join the NDC's youth wing protests that will be happening 6th July. Unfortunately, Peter Lanchenitobu, MP for Wa West, could not join us. But that's it. We're grateful to you. We'll turn our attention to our second conversation. We spent a lot of time talking about security. Pardon me for that. We'll turn our attention to COVID-19 and the new variant called what? The Delta variant. Already Ghana has recorded its first community infection. I remember a few weeks back we were told that what had been recorded was at the airport. These were travelers who had it and there was no community spread yet. So that has changed. We'll try and get some more information on it, but I'll turn my attention to the video wall if I can have the information posted up. But in the meantime, excellent. So this is some information, what to know about the Delta variant of COVID-19. So while I read this, I'm sure, Mr. Kumoji, you can take your leave. But thank you for joining us. So I'll go straight to it. The Delta variant, is also known by its scientific name as B16172, first identified in October in Maharashtra in India, named the Delta variant by the World Health Organization after the Global Health Agency implemented a naming system based on Greek letters. Okay, next slide. It sure is taking its time. Well, what are the experts saying? 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine have proven to be 88% effective against this Delta variant. They're also saying that 2 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine have proven to be 60% efficacious. That didn't come, but that's it's referring to the efficacy level of it. Do we have any more slides? Okay, so that's what you need to know. You can get some more information from the Ghana Health Service website. Of course, we're trying to reach them. We have on the phone lawyer Benjamin Antiedu. I want to have a conversation with him about the restrictions imposition EI that we understand has expired. We want to really understand the legality, so hopefully he's going to break that down for us. It has expired. What does that mean in terms of how we are operating in COVID as a country and what should be done thereafter? Good morning to you, Mr. Antiedu, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Francisca, and good morning to your cherished viewers.
Sorry to disturb your morning. Today we didn't bring you here. We're going to leave you alone, but we found a way to bring you back. But help us understand what the expiration of the EI and what it means to how we've been operating in COVID.
Okay. So the last EI, the executive instrument that was issued under the Imposition of Restrictions Act 2020, Act 1012, was the EI 395. A search on the internet and that of the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service and the others are not showing any new or any other executive instrument. And if you look at the letter issued or a reply issued by the police, the Greater Accra Regional Police Command, on the notification by the NDC Youth protest, they also cite EI 395 as the last executive instrument issued. And from the record, the EI 395 was issued somewhere in December 2020 and expected to expire in March 2021. in respect of the Imposition of Restrictions Act, 2020 Act 1012, which restricts the validity of executive instruments issued under the law to 3 months. So effectively, you have no existing executive instruments restricting our rights within this COVID period. So one would say that from April 2021 up to date, there is no executive instruments that restricts our right for us to even see the scope of the restriction, unless there is a new one that is, our diligence search has not reviewed.
But
so, Francisca, that is the state of the law now.
That is worrying, given that in a few weeks back, the police had been to court and to injunct a protest. And I'm not making this conversation about Fix the Country, but Fix the Country had wanted to go on a protest, and the police, using COVID protocols, went to court to get an injunction against them. So that would mean that, is it safe to say that that would be illegal then?
Francisca, you're asking about the reason given by the police against the Face the Country intended protest that was, stopped.
Yes, they will be referring to a law that, as we understand, with the search that has been done, has expired.
Yes, when the matter was challenged in the Supreme Court and back to the High Court, when the substantive application for injunction was refused, the court did not go into the legality or even the enforceability of the EI 395. I'm sure at that time that would have been the year we'll be talking about. But the High Court also did not go into that. It just said that, well, the time that the intended protest was faced by the Face the Country protest group had expired, so the court did not go into that. But the NDC Youth Wing has brought this one up, so we have to now wait upon the Ministry of Health or maybe the Ghana Health Service to give us the update. And it's worrying because such an instrument should be quite available, if there is any, quite available, and the date clearly stated, so that we all know that at this point, from this point to this point, we are to observe certain, restrictions. So yes, if indeed at the time too it was expired or it had expired, then the police would have even acted on, a law that was non-existent at the time. I'm sure they had not averted their minds to it because they stated it boldly that was one of the reasons why they could not, offer security protection for the intended
protest
demonstration.
Very well. Tell us what could be the reason for the failure, if I can say, I'm choosing my words carefully, for the failure or for the fact that it has not been updated. It's expired and it's been 2-3 months and it's not been updated.
Yes, that is where the surprise is, and that is why I'm also saying that probably it may exist somewhere and we are not aware of it, which in itself will also be another default. But it could also be that the government decision is now we should first relax the restrictions and allow some free movement to restore the economic journey.
It will then be important to hear from the government on that.
Exactly.
But
on the validity or on the dependency of any executive instrument restricting certain rights and which particular rights have been restricted. That would be very, very important.
So that it would mean that are we all going about our business illegally now, or because the law has expired, we're just there?
No, so the effect is that once there's no restriction on you, you are operating anything you are right in doing that. Already the Constitution has given you those rights and freedoms, and it's only telling you that it's only law that can be used to restrict that. And in this case, we have used the law to restrict that, and the law which permits the issuance of executive instrument has also expired. So we are back to our normal lives.
And in case of a spread that would be unusual, should we hold the state accountable? If something like that were to happen now, should we hold the state accountable because there will be nothing in place?
Yes, I'm just being a little cautious about the non-existence, because the fact that we don't have it might not be that we don't have one. Okay, because all you know is the police that has cited the wrong one.
Okay.
Okay, so but of course, if it has expired, and to us, and then you listen to the minister and other government officials, and we are still not out of the woods yet, then it will be a serious default on the part of government that we let our guards down like this. And when we are even, as you have just pointed to us, we have a new variant, the Delta variant, which is even more, dangerous and can spread very fast. So that would have been a very serious default in the system.
Very well. Nonetheless, as citizens, we should enforce or observe these COVID-19 protocols, continue to wear a mask, wash our hands, etc., keep social distance with people around us. Thank you very much. That's Benjamin Antiedu, legal practitioner, researcher, and author. I'm going to go on the phone lines quickly and speak to Dr. Kosi Kwejo Asamoah. He's an immunologist with Noguchi Memorial Institute. Before him, though, let's get you some latest information from the Ghana Health Service. Confirmed cases of COVID-19 stand at 95,914. Unfortunately, 796 people have died, and recoveries, or those who have been discharged after being infected, that's 93,444. New cases, we understand 85, and active cases 1,674. Okay, so that's an update from the Ghana Health Service website. You can log on for more information. Let's go to Dr. Kosi Asamoah, an immunologist and research fellow with the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us. What can you tell us about the discovery of this new Delta variant of COVID?
Good morning, Francisca, and good morning to your viewers. That is definitely a worrying situation, but it's not cause for panic. I think it was just a matter of time following the detection of the first case at our airport a few weeks ago. It was just a matter of time before it ends up here, because scientifically what is known is that the testing is not 100% proof, so definitely there will be some slip-throughs. So this is not surprising.
So when you say that testing is not 100% proof, break that down for me, explain that for me.
Yeah, so when you take even the best testing regime we have now, which is PCR, even that has a margin of error, very small margin of error. So there is the possibility that some tests or some samples which are positive, probably at very low concentrations of what you are measuring, might not show up as positive. So it's normal. That's how those tests are. You cannot have it giving you 100% sensitivity.
When did
Yeah, so definitely there will be a few slip-throughs.
Very well. When did Noguchi make this discovery?
So I think this is jointly between Noguchi and the West African Center for Cell Biology and Infectious Pathogens.
Okay.
But this you mean the ones you're talking about in the community? Yeah, I think probably in the last week. I'm not so sure of that, but it's very recent.
Okay, and these samples that tested to a large extent of the Delta variant, how many people, how many human beings were tested, or were the samples taken from?
So this is part of the routine testing that is ongoing. So out of that larger pool of people who have tested positive, these are the cases. I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but you have a few cases of those showing up as the Delta strain.
And do you have any idea which community the testing was done in?
No idea of that. I've only seen information about some few cases being detected in a school, and I'm not really sure the veracity of that.
Very quickly, we heard of earlier strains from the UK, South African, were informed that they were even deadlier. What else do we know about this Delta variant? Is this also very deadly? How is the rate of spread and infection?
Okay, so the Delta strain actually is in some circles been labeled the double mutant. It does have 13 mutations or changes from the original Wuhan strain. But 2 of those changes or mutations have been found in the South African strain, which is the Beta strain, and also in the Alpha strain, which is the UK strain. So you have 2 mutations that make the UK strain spread very fast. And then one that makes the South African strain also spread fast and is more severe, all found in the Indian strain. And we all know the devastation it caused in India in the beginning when it started spreading. So this is said to have a faster rate of spread and also to cause more severe disease. Fortunately for us, of what has been found so far, the story is that they are not severely sick or are in good health, if I can quote what was reported. So maybe we are going to be second time lucky, because the very first wave, while others died so much from the very initial strains, we were mostly suffering with symptomatic infections.
Okay.
But I think we cannot go on riding on chance. We really need to up our game.
And I agree with you. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it here for the sake of time, but we're grateful to you. That's Dr. Kusi Kwejua-Samoa with the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. Let's draw the curtains on the program today. Francisca Kakrafos, and I'm thankful to all my guests and to you for sending your messages. Let's do this again another Saturday. It's bye for now.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
You're in our brave new world.